And I'm looking right into that red light. Good morning, everyone. How are you today? I am so excited. This is my very first podcast with Healthy You. I'm a little bit nervous to tell you the truth, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to stretch my boundaries and push outside of my comfort zone, going live here with you this morning to talk about you, really, and to talk about what I believe it really means to be living a healthy lifestyle. And just kind of share that with you. It's going to be a great show. We're going to be live every Wednesday morning, beginning around 8:15, 8:20, maybe 8:30 if I'm really nervous. Like today, it took them a while to get me calmed down. So thank you so much if you're tuning in or watching this after it's recorded. Thank you for taking the time to watch. And it truly is my desire and hope that by joining me in this podcast every week, that you will learn a little bit more about living a healthy lifestyle and what that means. And you'll be able to apply that to your life and what it means to you. And maybe you'll have some aha moments, and maybe you're going to learn a lot, and maybe you already know a lot, and it's just going to add to that. And hopefully, as the show goes along, you might communicate with me. I think we'll be able to communicate with each other. You can post some comments, and I'll be able to see that and ask questions and answer questions. And then, of course, we're going to have some experts that are going to join me every now and then that are just going to talk about living a healthy lifestyle. And so I'll share more about that. But I thought today on my first show, it would be very important for you to really kind of know who I am and my experience and what brought me here to this podcast to be talking to you this morning live. And so, well, first of all, my name is Kim Martin, and I own a Curves franchise. I actually have two Curves franchises, and I've been a Curves franchise owner now for over 20 years. I opened my very first Curves in Carrollton, Georgia. So you hear that Southern accent. I'm actually from Mobile, Alabama originally, but I lived in Carrollton, Georgia, or LaGrange, Georgia, but my Curves was in Carrollton, Georgia for about 7 years. And that's where I opened my first Curves when I was 24 years old. And for 2 years before that, I actually worked at a Curves and as a manager. So I've been with Curves most of my life. It's pretty much all I've done for the majority of my adult life. And I wanted to share that with you to kind of back up to say this. When I first started working for Curves, I had never exercised a day in my life, like ever. Like I was an overweight child. When I was a teenager, I probably weighed about 185 pounds. The heaviest that I have ever been was around 211 pounds. And so I'm not one of those people that has just been like, woo, exercise, fitness guru all of my life. In fact, I still don't look at myself like that at all. I really exercise because I have to, not necessarily because I love it. That's the truth. And I eat well because I want to take care of myself and be healthy and not be sick. Not necessarily because I don't like chocolate glazed donuts, because actually I love them. And if I could, I would eat them every day. So I'm really, people have said, oh, you're an exercise or fitness guru. I've been labeled that. But the truth of the matter is I'm just like you. I would not consider myself an exercise guru. It kind of fell into my lap. In fact, I just was looking for a job. I had been a manager in a retail store, and I just needed a different job. I didn't want to drive over an hour to my job one way. So I was working a lot of hours and driving 2 hours a day. And I'm like, I need a new job. And I happened to stumble across an ad in a newspaper that said they were looking for a manager at a new Curves that was opening in the town that I lived in. And I thought, I'm a manager. I can do that. I'm not healthy or fit, and I don't like to exercise. At that point in my life, I was about 22, and I had really, I'm not kidding you, outside of maybe trying a gym one day here or there and trying a class here or there, I did not like it, and I did not exercise at all. And so I eventually got the job because in an interview I said, well, what if I start the program and I lose weight? Wouldn't that be awesome? Like all the ladies would see me like losing weight and then they would know that the program works. And they said, that's a great idea. And in about 90 days after you start working, we'll reevaluate and see how you're doing. And so that was the beginning of my journey at Curves. I started Curves not knowing a thing about nutrition, a thing about exercise. And that's where it all began. I started. And 6 months later, now mind you, I was 22 years old. Okay, so that was a long time ago. About 6 months later, I had dropped my weight and I was down to about 135 pounds, which was the lowest I had ever been in my life. But the truth of that is that I was dieting and restricting what I was eating and exercising like crazy. And I still wasn't really living a healthy lifestyle, what I consider today a healthy lifestyle. I would still binge eat on donuts or, whatever on the weekend. And then I would eat salads for 3 days trying to lose the 3 pounds that I gained over the weekend. Some of you probably feel that pain. We do that all the time, right? We binge on the weekend and then we spend the week trying to make up for those binges. And that's just really not truly living a healthy lifestyle, I now know today. And so that's what happened to me as I just started this trend of exercise. All my members were watching me. I need to eat salad. And then on the weekend when no one was watching, I would eat the donuts or whatever. And I did that for a long time. Actually, for about the first 10 years of my career with Curves, I would say that I truly wasn't living a healthy lifestyle. I had started learning, got certifications, became a personal trainer, certified in nutrition, learning all this information, piling it in, coaching all of these women, but I wasn't truly living that healthy lifestyle inside myself. And I have my youngest daughter who will be 13 on May 13th. When she was a year old, so that's 12 years ago now, I stuck the stake in the ground and I just said, you know what? I'm a hypocrite. I cannot continue to coach these women and, when I'm not truly living a healthy lifestyle myself. So about 12 years ago, halfway along my journey at Curves, about 12 years ago, I stuck the stake in the ground and made the decision that I was going to master this whole concept of living a healthy lifestyle. And that's kind of what I've been doing over the last 12 years. I started running. I made running a part of my routine. And I learned our weight loss program very well. Got certified through Cleveland Clinic. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And I started practicing what I was preaching and decided that I wanted to live a healthy lifestyle. Started making the decisions that aligned with the knowledge. You got the wisdom and the knowledge in your mind, but it just doesn't quite connect. So it's like you know what you're supposed to do, but it doesn't connect. And there you are. You got the information, but you just aren't doing what you need to do. So I started doing what I was needing to do. And here I sit 12 years later, and I really believe that by my experience, I've walked it. I know what it feels like to not live a healthy lifestyle. I know what it feels like to be overweight, to have an issue with food. I have an issue with food. I do. I still do to this day. It's something that I struggle with almost daily. And it started as a child, I was an overweight child. It's behavior. So I understand what it feels like to struggle with weight. And I am been doing this for a long time. I've coached thousands of women and I've been on this journey and helped them to transition and change their behavior, change their mindset, and really start this lifestyle journey. So I wanted to share all that with you because I don't want you to watch this show and look at me and think I'm perfect, or look at me. I know I look perfect, right? No, that's not what I mean. But sometimes you can get wrapped up and you can hear someone sharing because they got this information and you can think, wow, it's easy for them. They work in a fitness club. This is what they do for a living. It's easy and they know what they need to do. And that's simply not my case. It could be someone else's story. someone else's case, but that is not my case at all. I have been just walking along this journey long enough to know now that that's exactly what it is. It is a healthy lifestyle journey, and it's based on several components. And so this show, Healthy You, is going to be based around those 5 components. And you need to understand that this is what I believe based on my experience, based on my education, and based on my coaching experience with other women specifically, but I think it applies to men for sure too. I think we're all the same really when it comes to that. But it is based on all of that experience, and I think it's true, but it is kind of like my opinion. If you go Google, the 5 components to living a healthy lifestyle, you might find a few different things, but I think they're all going to come back to be very similar. Most experts are going to have a very similar concept. And so we've all heard the 3 things, right? Mind, body, and spirit. Those are the 3 things that we think. If you're really living a healthy lifestyle, it's not just about your weight. It's not just about what you're eating. It's not just about exercise. It's your mind. It's your physical. It's emotional. It's all of those things, right? So that's probably not new to you. You've heard that. But I actually have 5 components that we're going to build this show off of. And so each week when you tune in, you are going to hear potentially myself speaking on a topic or our expert speakers. I'll have experts joining me that are experts in living a healthy lifestyle, and that can share their information and knowledge with you as well. And it's going to be based off of these 5 components because I think this is the foundation for what we do. And so let's start with what I believe is the number 1, and that is, I put it under spiritual, but I also have like spiritual/love. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. So most of my life, especially as a teenager, I hated how I looked. I was overweight, right? And so compared to all of my friends, I just looked at myself as chubby and, unattractive because I just was much heavier than my average friend at that time. And so every time I would try, remember I said I would end up at the gym for like one day or maybe one class. And it all started from a place of kind of disgust. Like I could not stand myself. Like it wasn't because I loved myself and because I wanted to take care of myself. It was because I don't like the way I look in my jeans. And at that particular time, I grew up in Mobile. I lived on the coast. So it wasn't jeans. It was a bathing suit. I really could not stand how I looked in a bathing suit. And so my motivation was all messed up. The motivation was based off of how I looked, and I wanted to look good in a bathing suit. And it wasn't based on love. It wasn't spiritual. It wasn't based on who I am. And it wasn't based on the love that I should have for myself because of who I am. And so if you are trying to live a healthy lifestyle and your motivation is coming because of a number on the scale or because you don't like yourself or like how you look, we got to change that. I'm telling you right now, that is not going to get you where you want to go. We have to change that mindset. You have to start seeing yourself from a spiritual perspective, that you were born for a reason and a purpose, that you were created, and that you are loved. And you need to have that love for yourself. And that's where it has to start. You have to start from a place of, I love myself too much to continue to treat myself this way. So then when you start looking at food or you start looking at those, and I'll just use chocolate glazed donuts as an example because that's my favorite, or an apple fritter. I like those too. But either way, donuts. Okay, so we'll just use donuts as the example. So now when I see the donut, it's not like I'm like, oh, I got to treat myself. I've been so good. I ran all week. I deserve to have an apple fritter. It's going to be so yummy. Now the conversation goes more like, there are trans fats in that, Kim. Do you know that, and I'm thinking this to myself, right? And this is the conversation that I have in my head. Your body doesn't digest trans fats. Once they go in, they don't come out. It clogs your arteries, ages you, gives you high cholesterol, and can cause you to have a stroke. You start to look at that food from a different perspective. It's not that, this is what I wanted you to know. It's not that I don't ever eat a donut, because sometimes the temptation is too much. We know, you know what I'm talking about, especially the girls out there, right? Sometimes the temptation is too much and I give in and I eat the donut. So it's not that you won't eat the donut, but you understand what that represents. So it's a total different perspective. I run not because I want to be thin, but because I want to sleep well, because I want to take care of myself, and because I want to age well, and I don't want to take medications. And I definitely don't want to have type 2 diabetes like my grandma died from, and cholesterol or be obese, which runs in my family. And so all of those are reasons why I do it, because I love myself. And you need to love yourself enough to take care of yourself too. So the number one foundation of living a healthy lifestyle is spiritual and love. It has to start from that foundation of love. If you're saying to yourself, I don't like how I look in these jeans, you got to change that around, okay? That won't be enough motivation for you to stick with it long term. I assure you of that. Okay. And the second thing is mind, right? Your mind. We talk about spiritual mind, but it's more than that. It's behaviors. You have a certain mindset. And that mindset is based on your life experience. That's the bottom line. It comes from our friends. It starts with our family, mainly our parents. They bring us home from the hospital, right? So it starts there. And you have this lifetime of experiences, and that creates your mindset. And we all just know what we know. And that's it. You know, we learn better, and hopefully we do better. But it's about that understanding that living a healthy lifestyle is simply a behavior. And you are going to have to change how you think in order to truly master living a healthy lifestyle. You're going to have to come to an understanding that some of the behaviors that you have and some of your ideas that you may think are true may not be true. You have to accept the fact that we all have ideas that may not be 100% truth. You know what I mean? And we have to be willing to learn, and we have to be willing to change those behaviors. Examples of that. I sit down. I love to talk about my girl, Shando. I've been coaching her for about 3 years. She's awesome. She's lost about 60 pounds. She's got a ways to go, but she is doing it, and she is changing a lifetime of behaviors. One of the things that it really took us literally almost a year to change was her eating breakfast. That took a year. Like every time we would meet together each week, I'm like, what'd you have for breakfast, Shando? She would start crying. I didn't feel like it. I was rushed. I wasn't hungry. I'm like, you got to eat breakfast, you know? And we worked on that for a year. And guess what? She sends me pictures of her food. She eats breakfast every morning. It's awesome. Another example, someone sit down with me and they said, I don't eat vegetables. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to have to start eating vegetables. No, I don't eat vegetables. Okay, well, you're going to have to learn to like some vegetables, because that's a part of living a healthy lifestyle. And guess what? Today, I just was talking to Michelle last week, and she goes, Kim, you'll be so proud I eat broccoli. And I'm like, that's awesome. So you can change. You just have to be willing. And those are just some little examples. You have to know that the emotion will follow the action. You are never going to feel like it. You are not going to jump up out of bed every day, run into the gym to exercise. You are not going to feel like preparing your meals, which you're going to need to do. You're going to want to eat something quick and fast when you really need to go home and cook a healthy meal. And you're going to have to just do it. And your emotion will be about 25 feet behind you, okay? That's the way it goes. You're about 25 feet ahead of your emotion, and then it's going to catch up to you. Once you do the task, you're going to feel so great about it. I did not want to wake up this morning and go for a run. I wanted to cancel because I had this show. I started using this show as an excuse. I'm like, I have a show. It's my first one. I'm really nervous. I need to get up and practice. I got to make sure I have everything I'm going to say. I think I'm going to cancel my run with my running buddy. I played that in my mind. We give ourselves excuses. But you know what? I got up and I ran. And I'm here doing this show, the first one. So you can't do that, and you have to change that mindset. So we're going to be talking a lot about discipline, how the emotion follows the action, and just behavior and behavior change in general. I use the DECIDE methodology. You're going to hear about that a lot. I believe it's an easy 6-step methodology that you can apply to anything and be successful. All right, the third is relationships, okay? And we're going to be talking about relationships. And this is a good plug. This is a good time, I think, for me to give a plug to my first expert guest I'm going to have next Wednesday morning, Mary Ardapple. And you may recognize that name because Mary's been around in Peoria for a long time, and she is the owner and founder of that awesome, wonderful restaurant that we love so much, Apple's Bakery. And so she has a lot of experience with food, and she has become a core coach, and she coaches people individually and helps them understand the relationship between you and the food that you eat. It's really cool. She is extremely knowledgeable, but relationships are obviously with people, but it's also with your food. It's how you see that relationship. You need support. Under the relationship, we're going to be talking about support. Who's your support group? Who's your accountability buddy? You got to have some accountability. You got to have someone that that's going along with you on this journey. Who is that? If you don't have that person, you really are missing a piece of the puzzle that's going to help you be successful in the long run. Who's your tribe? That's that support. That's that group. Who are you meeting with on a weekly basis that you're getting motivated by a bunch of different people, and that you're hearing their stories and hearing their success stories or their struggles is getting you fired up and getting you motivated? And that motivation is simply the revelation that comes from learning something new, and maybe not new, but just maybe in a different way. You hear something in a different way that's going to help you. We have a Curve Sisterhood page. This morning, I took a picture of my breakfast, posted it on the page, shared what it was, and how many calories was in it. That's our support, And then guess what? I told the girls, I'm like, comment what you had. And so then they comment and they start showing pictures of what they're having for breakfast. What does that do? Well, there could have been someone who was thinking about driving through Dunkin' Donuts, and all of a sudden they saw that post and they're like, oh, darn, I got to eat something healthy. I can't post a picture of a donut, right? That could have happened. Or then it gets people excited. Maybe someone's going to skip breakfast and they're like, oh no, now I got to make sure I eat something because I got to post a picture. It's just that you can't believe how much those little things will impact you living a healthy lifestyle on a day-to-day basis. So the third foundation is relational, and it's about relationships. It's all about relationship. Okay, so we got love, mind, spiritual love, mind, behaviors, and then the third is relationship. And then of course the fourth is nutrition. That one's a broad range, right? We can talk about nutrition all the time, and I know everybody's got their idea of what works and what's the right thing to do. And I believe that my idea is the right thing, quite frankly. And so it's not my idea. It is a diet that I teach. And when I say diet, I need to clarify, because you're going to hear me using the term diet quite a bit. And that doesn't mean diet like I eat these frozen meals and eat a specific type of food diet. You know what I mean? Not like a diet like that. When I'm talking about diet, I'm using it in its real term, which is the food that you put in your mouth. What kind of diet? What are you having? You can have a really healthy diet, or you can have a poor diet, or you can have a high-fat diet, right? There's all kinds. It's just about the food that you're putting in your mouth, okay? And so what I teach and what I believe is the most effective way of eating and living a healthy lifestyle, I learned from Cleveland Clinic. And for those of you that don't know, Cleveland Clinic is the number one cardiac hospital in our country. And they house over 30,000 employees. And they have some of the smartest cardiologists in probably the world, not just in our country, but in the world. They ranked number 2 behind Mayo Clinic as the largest hospital in our country. They are, there's some smart people there. They do a lot of research there, and they're trying to help people be healthy, and especially in cardiology. That's their specialty. Okay, so these surgeons, they see your heart, they see what's happening in your arteries. They're doing these surgeries, and it is very important to them that they put out information that is accurate and true based on real research and based on what the average person can really do and how it works. And so we teach a diet that I learned from them, and I'm certified through Cleveland Clinic to teach this. And it is simply, it's real food. It's really not necessarily hands off of anything. You can really eat anything, except for you have to do it in moderation, of course. But it's based on eating 5 meals a day: breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, and dinner. That sounds pretty familiar, right? You know that you need to eat every 2 to 3 hours. They know for a fact, based on the research there, that balances out your insulin level. And when your insulin, your sugar, is balanced out, it makes it a little easier for you to lose weight. Doesn't make it easy, but it makes it a little easier. It's very important that you eat every 2 to 3 hours. So we're going to be talking about that in some shows, helping you understand. And then you have to balance it out. You got to eat your carbs, your protein. There's no restriction. It's not a high carb, low carb, high protein, low protein. There is no restriction. It's about eating a complete meal at each time that you're eating: breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, and dinner. It's all real food, and it's keeping your calories in check. And I'm going to teach you about that. I'm going to teach you about metabolism, how your body really works. You want to learn your BMR, your basal metabolic rate? Do you actually know how many calories you burn in a day with exercise? I'm curious how many of you know that. We're going to have a show about metabolism. You need to know. You have to understand how many calories you're putting in and how many calories you're burning. And it is a huge part of living a healthy lifestyle. That's just some about the diet. Okay, so nutrition also includes hydration. You need to be hydrated. We'll talk about that. But it also includes supplements, okay? I am a firm believer in good supplements. There are a lot of good ones out there. We're not going to talk necessarily specific about any specific supplement. You have to determine based on your needs, but we will talk about how supplements can enhance a healthy lifestyle. So you'll expect to hear from that. And I do believe that based on our nutrition today and our food and how hard it is to be healthy and have the energy and live a healthy lifestyle, it's totally great for you to do a good supplement that entails lots of things: multivitamins, calcium, omegas, magnesium, things, vitamin D. Those are very important. So supplements are very important. We're going to talk about that. All right. I'm going to be wrapping it up here. And the fifth component is activity. And so under activity is a couple of things. Sleep. Do you think about sleep as an activity? So it really is, and it needs to be a priority in your life. Sleep is when your body recovers. It's when your brain sorts everything. It heals. You have to sleep. In order to live a healthy lifestyle, you need sleep. So that's got to be at the top of your list, and you need to figure out how to get good sleep. If you're not getting good sleep, that's got to be your first step. You got to figure out how to get good sleep. Okay, it's very important. Usually once you start activity, once you start exercising and making sure that's a part of your day, then you're going to sleep better. That's what happened to me when I started running. I struggled sleeping, and now I sleep like a baby. So sleep is important. And of course, exercise. You have to have good exercise, but specifically strength training. We're going to talk about that. And under activity is fun. Living a healthy lifestyle should be fun. It is fun to live a healthy lifestyle. It is fun to love yourself and to take care of yourself and to get outdoors and do fun things like cycling, walking, running, all of those fun activities. You don't have to be in a gym. If you go to a gym, that's great, but there's so many things that you can do to be active and have fun. Okay, so we're going to have fun. All right, so thank you for joining me today, and I'm super excited about next week. Join us. Mary Ardapple's going to be with us, and I hope you enjoyed your first Healthy You show, and we'll see you next week.
PeoriaLife.com